New estimates for Lyme disease are out, and they are much worse than anyone thought.
As a matter of fact, they are 270,000 cases per year higher than originally reported.
We've always suspected that there's at least 10 cases of Lyme disease for every one that shows up at the CDC.
Now, keep in mind, it has been reported that only about 20% of the tick population actually carries Lyme disease. It is the physical impact on a person that is absolutely tremendous. And here are the areas most impacted.
Right now, 96% of all cases are in 13 states in the Northeast, and there we are, look at us, Delmarva in the middle of it all. Joining us this afternoon to explain why these new numbers are important to you are Candace Jahelka, the wife of WBOC's General Manager Craig Jahelka, who has lived with Lyme disease for more than 10 years, and Marilyn Williams with the Lyme Disease Association of the Eastern Shore of Maryland. Welcome, ladies, to the show this afternoon. Marilyn, we're gonna start off with you. You know, we hear about people, they don't get diagnosed with this right away. They might go from doctor to doctor, and it could be years before they actually get the diagnosis. Do you think that has impacted the huge change of numbers reported by the CDC?
Well, certainly those people that go from doctor to doctor to doctor before getting diagnosed really probably aren't even being counted. This big number isn't new. I mean, we've known since 1996, when there was a study done for the Department of Health in Maryland, that the number of cases in Maryland are underreported by 10 to 12-fold. So it's not new news, but we're really happy that the CDC came out with this announcement, because now all those people that are out there that have been diagnosed with fibromyalgia like me, or chronic fatigue, or MS, or ALS, or Parkinson's disease might now stop and say, hey, maybe I too might have Lyme disease. Maybe I'm one of those undiagnosed cases.
So now you were just talking about Maryland's numbers being 10 to 12-fold. That we understand from the 2011 numbers, Delaware's at the top of the list.
Yes, in 2011, Delaware was #1 in the nation for the number of cases on a per capita basis. So Delaware is just, thriving with Lyme disease.
No, we don't have any numbers back from 2012 yet?
No, not yet. Not in this, they didn't count it up the same way that they normally have.
So what does that tell you? I mean,
well, it tells us that Lyme disease and tick-borne diseases in general, there's more than just Lyme disease, needs to be on the forefront of our mind. When we start developing any kind of health issues, we need to stop and say, hey, wait a minute, could this be tick-borne diseases? Because actually these diseases are caught not only from ticks, but from biting mosquitoes and biting flies. It's in our blood supply. So, we can get it in different ways, and really the Lyme doctors will tell you that about 80% of patients never even remember a tick bite. You don't have to get that telltale bullseye rash. Only about 50% of people do.
So what should, there's the bullseye rash we were talking about, what should the doctors be doing?
Well, they should be thinking tick-borne diseases whenever their patients come in with health issues. They should rule that out, and they should also be reporting cases of Lyme disease. That's one of the reasons why these numbers are so underreported. Anytime a person comes in with a bullseye rash, that's a reportable case of Lyme disease. A positive ELISA test, it's a reportable case. A positive Western blot, it's a reportable case. But doctors also need to be educating themselves about tick-borne diseases so that they can start recognizing the symptoms and realize that the tests are just a guideline. And even the CDC, I visited their website recently and went to the part for clinicians. They said these guidelines of having a positive ELISA and a positive Western blot are only for reporting purposes and are not meant to be for treatment. So we really have to look at the patient and do a clinical diagnosis.
And we mentioned that only certain kinds of ticks carry this disease, is that right?
Well, no, all ticks are carrying diseases, and even the Lone Star tick was recently found to be carrying Lyme disease. Dog ticks are carrying Lyme disease, and of course the deer tick. So any tick on you for any length of time is of concern.
All right, now Candace, let's turn to you. You who were diagnosed, how long ago were you diagnosed, and what exactly were you experiencing at the time?
I was diagnosed 10 years ago, but prior to that I had 3 years where I had iffy symptoms, where my doctors would just kind of blow me off. and eventually I blew out my adrenals, which means I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk from here to there. And I got to a really good doctor, and I was diagnosed immediately with Lyme. So then it was just bouncing from different doctors to different doctors who specialized in Lyme.
So since you were diagnosed, how have things changed for you?
Well, my life
as far as family, your life, the whole.
It's completely. My life is completely different than the life I had before.
Yeah.
Like it said, Candace Jahelka, diagnosed with Lyme. You know, you might as well just say Lyme disease right up front because it affects everything I do. I've been cured 3 times, and it's come back 3 times. So it's not something that you, I think, get rid of and go woo, because it can just come right back, which is something I really wasn't aware of.
And it's not just physical symptoms that you had. It really affects, you know, your mental health, your brain, right?
Everything. Mm-hmm.
And you saw signs of that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that.
My brain, my memory is lapsed. I always my kids will ask me questions, and then by the second question, I'm still thinking about the first question. They're like, "Mom," and so it makes it hard. I can't remember names, you know, little things like that. You just have to be constantly aware. You know, it's always, when I do things, I just have to think about them a little longer. I have to plan and budget. So.
Right.
So it's affected the people around you as well.
Oh, very much, except for my kids were really little when I was diagnosed, so they kind of grew up with me like this. So they'll probably, instead of remember fun field trips, they'll remember going to the doctors.
Well, you have written a book in the process of all
I'm
this.
starting, after the 3rd time I got it back and I was very, very sick, I decided to start writing a pamphlet to educate myself.
Yeah.
Because I really think anybody who has Lyme disease or any of the other ones, the co-infections that go along with it, need to educate yourself. You need to be educated. You cannot rely on your doctor. So I started with a pamphlet simply because I couldn't remember a lot of things. It started from a pamphlet. It's now into like a 10-chapter book. It's very detailed. There's a lot of information I found, a lot of new information, a lot of good information that hopefully one day I'll be able to kick it and stay with it being kicked. That's my goal.
Is there one key point that people who are suffering from this that you want them to remember? What would it be? What is that one thing they should remember?
To remember, don't give up.
Don't give up.
And just remember, you know, I try to, because of what I can't do, I appreciate what I can do more, so appreciate what you can do, and get educated.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much, there's stuff involved with genetics that some doctors don't know that can help. There's a lot.
And one way to do that, tonight. Right,
That's right.
Marilyn, you have something going on?
That's right. Our monthly meeting is tonight, and we are having a great presentation from Dr. Joseph Annabali from the Amen Clinics in Reston, Virginia. He's going to come down and talk to us about Lyme in the brain and how it affects the brain. And he's also going to be showing us some SPECT scans of what the brain actually looks like when it is affected by Lyme disease.
That sounds very interesting.
Oh, it's going to be a great presentation and lots of great information for anybody who wants to learn more about Lyme disease. And we're actually giving out certificates of attendance for any professionals that are coming that could get continuing education credits.
There you go. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. What an incredible story.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, if you'd like to learn more about tonight's meeting or Lyme disease in general, its symptoms, its causes, its effects, just go to our website, delmarvalife.com, and click on the show tab. Well, still ahead on Delmarva Life, we've all had rough days. You may be having one today. We're going to share the story of one woman who's had a lot of rough days, but she's turned her life around. We're going to hear more about her incredible will to succeed and find out how she keeps a winning attitude.
And later, even a very small leak can be found through trying a few simple techniques and can save you from a nasty surprise from your local utility company. We'll tell you how to spot a leak and how to stop it.
But first, of course, we just learned about Lyme disease. Dr. Oz has more on how you can outsmart ticks.
The last thing you want to worry about after a day outdoors is getting a tick-borne disease, like Lyme disease. If an infected tick hooks into you, it can spit bacteria into your bloodstream. It can make you pretty darn sick. So take these precautions. Wear light-colored, tightly woven clothing, long sleeves and pants, and tuck them into your socks. Use a tick repellent that contains DEET or permethrin, and follow the directions carefully. Don't venture off the trails and sit on the ground or on logs. And as soon as you get home, take off your clothes and throw them right into the wash or hot dryer for 20 minutes. Do a full body check. Use a handheld mirror if you can't see everywhere. Don't forget the scalp. Ticks the size of a poppy seed are really small, so you gotta look really carefully to make sure you haven't missed one of them.